Hello everybody and welcome back to the Gunthrek Chats channel. Today we're going to be talking about copyright, specifically when it comes to music. As you can see, the logo covering my face. I don't know a good solution to that. I want the logo to come up and I want all this stuff to come up in the beginning, but I also don't want to hide my face. So I don't know. I'll have to come up with some kind of way of getting around that. But whatever. Today we're going to be talking about copyright, and especially when it pertains to music, why there are good parts to it and why there are bad parts to it. And the reason I'm making this video is because it affects me directly when it comes to content creation. So as I say on the first bullet point here, copyright itself has several pros and cons. Obviously, we need some sort of copyright law in effect to prevent people from just taking one idea, claiming it as their own, and trying to make all kinds of money and all that stuff off of it. Clearly, that's important. Because of the fact that we have copyright laws in place, it allows us to place an emphasis on how important it is to have creative people in our society. I think one of the things that we undervalue a lot when we really focus on things like science and math and all of these STEM specific things is that having people in our society who are creatives at heart inspire other people around them to be a little bit more creative in the way that they approach things, so that when you go into situations such as a science project or science research or whatever it is that you're doing, having creatives around you can help you be take a different approach to different things like that. So I think it's kind of important to kind of keep that in mind, that creativity in our society is an extremely important thing and we need to have it. Imagine how boring life would be if the only things we did were the things that had value, as, you know, objective value, as people try to call it. Having music, having movies and entertainment, having video games, having all of these things that we have at our fingertips today all result from the creativity of people who didn't really have anything that contributed to society in an objective, quantifiable way. It contributes to society in a way that allows us to advance our understanding of things through music and movies and all of these other things that kind of move us from where we used to be to where we are now. So creativity is one of those things that we absolutely should be encouraging, but if you're somebody who is creative and you put a lot of time and effort into trying to create this amazing thing that people really enjoy, and you know, it's reasonable that you should get some kind of compensation out of that. You put a lot of time, you put a lot of effort, you have a lot of talent that you invested into whatever song or movie or video game or whatever it is that you created. So it's important that you get some kind of compensation out of that. And this is why copyright is so important, because it does make it to where you are able to protect the work that you've done and make it so that other people can't come in, claim that it's theirs, and try to take the money that you should be making. And when people get rewarded for taking the risk of doing something creative, it makes us more likely to try to do more of that stuff in the future. It makes other people more likely to try to do something like that because they become inspired by this creative thing that you did. And it makes it so that, you know, it places a system, and it has a system that is put in place that allows us to feel somewhat safe and secure in our ability to come up with an idea, mark that our idea as ours, and monetize it in some way so that all of us can benefit in some way from the creative forces that people are putting out into the world. It also gives us a sense of ownership of our work, because a lot of times, even though we know that we might have come up with something, if someone comes in and tries to put out something very similar, it starts to eat away at our own feeling that, hey, this is my work and this is what I did, and I want people to know that this is mine, and I don't want someone else coming in and taking my idea. So it gives a kind of official ownership of whatever it is that you are doing, whether it's a song, video game, movie, whatever it is. So there's a lot of really good things that come around from the idea of a copyright, of a legal system set in place that says this person created this thing, it is owned by them, they get to control how it's used and all of that kind of stuff. You know, there's some really good things about that. On the other side of the coin, though, there are some really bad things that come around from copywriting. First and foremost, it just limits the ability of whatever medium it is that you have to be shared with other people, because placing a monetary value or placing a monetary requirement on whatever it is that you've created by nature limits the ability of people who don't have or who don't want to spend the money to get access to whatever it is that you've created. It limits their ability to gain access to it in a legitimate way. Obviously, there's always going to be some kind of a pirate kind of thing happening, you know, illicit material, illicit things, file sharings and things like that from whatever it is, books or music or even movies now. There are ways of getting around the official channels and finding those things. If you grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s and beyond, you know those. They're not nearly as popular anymore because of services like Netflix and Spotify and things like that. But I grew up during those times, and yeah, I'm well aware of those being things that happened. But realistically, the fact, especially depending on how much money you're trying to get for whatever it is that you're doing, you're basically blocking off an entire segment of the community from being able to access this creative thing that you've done. That's not necessarily wrong, but it is something to consider when we're putting things in place to try to ensure that people aren't stealing your work from you. You know, the other part of it is it just prevents, a lot of times it just flat out prevents other people from being able to use your work in whatever it is that they're doing. I think there is something to be said for the expectation that if somebody's going to use your work in whatever it is that they're doing, that there should be some amount of compensation that comes your way from that. But this leads into my last point, which is the biggest point and the reason why this issue is important to me, and it's that a lot of times creators and the systems in place to protect those creators want to take too much from people who want to use the creative material, far more than is, at least in my opinion, far more than is reasonable. I don't remember exactly what the number is of the percentage of revenue that comes off of a YouTube video for using copyrighted material, but it's a lot. It's over 20%. I think it's like 23 or 25 or something like that. It's a ridiculous amount of money to pull off of a YouTube channel video just because you put a song over whatever it is that you're doing. I would be perfectly fine giving a couple of percent of my revenue before using a song like that, but the way it is now on YouTube, it's completely unreasonable, and it's why anytime I put my stuff on YouTube and I see that it has some kind of copyright claim, I immediately replace the song with something else. Because I don't mind, you know, sharing some revenue with a song creator because, you know, they put effort and time and all that kind of stuff into it. But 25% of my the 25% of the revenue that I will ever get from that video going to a content creator is completely unreasonable. They didn't do anything. They didn't do any of the work that went into creating the video itself. All they did was all that happened was I used their song on top of my stuff, and it seems kind of unreasonable to me. So I feel like the copyright thing is really important. It's something that we need to have, but I think there needs to be another really long and intense discussion about how fair, what is fair when it comes to allowing people to use your work, and there needs to be some kind of a reasonable standard that we kind of apply to everybody, because it's unreasonable to create something and then expect to get a majority of someone else's effort because they want to use your song. One of the things to keep in mind is just the fact, like, obviously movies are a little bit different because you can't take somebody else's movie, put it on there and just play that. But, you know, having someone else's song playing in your background the song isn't the content. The content is whatever you're watching, and the song is just little, you know, icing on top. You should get compensated for that, but it should not be a significant chunk out of the video revenue. But yeah, that's my thoughts on copyright. It's absolutely important. We need copyright laws because, you know, you don't want to create something and then have someone come along and steal your work. But at the same time, there needs to be a reasonable structure for allowing people to use other people's creative stuff as part of their own work while not appropriating it. And I think that a very small fee is reasonable, and anything more than that is just kind of ridiculous. So that's my thoughts on copyright. relatively, I don't know how long these videos are ever going to be. I just kind of go down the list, as you can see, and just, I'm an extemporaneous speaker. I don't like writing scripts, and I don't want to write scripts, so I'm going to just kind of talk about them as I go, and hopefully I cover all the points, and hopefully it makes sense. So thank you very much for watching. Be sure to come back for the next video. Click the like button and subscribe to help us reach 10,000, or help us reach 1,000 different channels. Head over to my gaming channel where I'm trying to reach 10,000 subscribers, and then click the like and subscribe button on this channel so we can reach our first 1,000 subscribers, so we can monetize the channel and do all that kind of cool stuff. So again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you for the next one.